Boarding in progress.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
This is the Peabody Institute Library Trustee Board meeting, monthly meeting. It's a Happy New Year to all. I'm going to read the legal disclaimer here that has gone out days before announcing the meeting. Remote participation is allowed in accordance with Section 20A, B, and C of the Acts of 2021 signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16, 2021, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, C-30A, Section 18. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. 1, the meeting will be televised via Peabody Access Television. 2, real-time public comments during the meeting can be addressed to the Board of Library Trustees utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and make a comment or question to the chair via the audio option. And then we have all of the connection information below with phone numbers and links. So again, welcome everybody. I'd like to have a call to order, please. And can I have a roll call?
Peter Bukola.
Present.
Stephanie Dallaire. Don Mcallister.
Here.
Francisco Luigi.
Here.
Stephanie Najar.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Thomas Pappas.
Here.
Anne Quinn.
Here.
Richard Shruhan.
Here.
Jennifer Smith.
Here.
Ruth Teitelbaum.
Here.
Katrina Vasallo.
Here.
Thank you. And at this point in time, I think we want to suspend. You know something, Stephanie, thank you for reminding me. So we had everybody's name here, and I'd like to welcome our new trustees. From my right here, first we have Ruth Teitelbaum. Then we have Jennifer, right? And Jennifer, please say your last name again.
Smith.
Jennifer Smith and Katrina. And Katrina, your last name, please.
Vasallo.
Masala. So welcome to joining our Board of Trustees. We're very delighted to have you here. We have a full board now, and we have a good cross-function of knowledge on this board too. And the nice thing about, I guess, trustees, in my opinion, is that we all want to be here. And it makes for a good, active board for people getting involved with the community library here. And we do help the people of this community by being involved with their library. So what I would like to do, so you know who we are, I'd like to go around the table and just do a little introduction of ourselves and we get to know you, a little bit of you. I'll start first. My name is Tom Pappas. I've presided over the board this past year. And I'm an engineer on my daytime job. And that's what I do for a living. I started my career out of college working for the Harold F. Johnson Library Center. They put me in the basement in the engineering department where we ran television studios and networking across the campus back then. So I spent the first 10 years of my career working in a library. And as a result, I ended up having a whole bunch of books that they were discontinuing and getting rid of in my basement. So, but I did enjoy the library. And my love for libraries comes from being in them all the time, from schooling and all that. So that's a little bit about me. I live in Peabody here with my wife, Neil Adamopoulos, and my son, Pappas, who I just left his winning basketball game, winning in the fourth quarter. So that's who I am. Maybe we continue this way.
Stephanie Najar. This is my second term, so I'm going on year 10, I believe, of this coming year. And I live in Peabody, of course. All the 3 children are grown. I work at Higgins Middle School in the Crazy Paint office there. And it's just been a great journey so far. I've worked being on this board. It's been just pleasurable meeting everyone and worthwhile of my time, and I hope you all find it just as rewarding as I have.
And I'm Ruth Titlebaum, and I also live in Peabody with my husband, David. And we have a grand dog from Max and his wife, Jen, and they're in New Hampshire. And I've been a compliance administrator for a retail service company for 15 years. And before that, I worked in the finance industry, the other retail services, taxes, and just general knowledge here and there. And I'm looking forward to continuing to bring Peabody to fruition at the library.
I'm Jennifer Smith. I live in Peabody, of course. I've got 2 high school age kids. I'm a chemical engineer by training, and I spent 25 plus years working in the biotechnology industry, mostly for small companies in the Cambridge area. I was separated from that job early last year, and I'm currently working as a long-term sub teaching math and science at high school. Yeah, I've had a lifelong love of libraries. I think I spent more hours in my public library as a kid. And then with my kids, we frequented the South Branch. So I'm glad to be able to participate and contribute.
I'm Katrina Vassallo. I grew up here in Peabody. I work as a managing editor at Harvard University Press. So needless to say, I really enjoy books. And I also just have had a lifelong love of this library. I grew up going to both this branch and the South Branch, being a South Peabody kid. And I'm just really excited to be part of this board, to be able to take that next step in helping the library.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not a problem. I'm Kate Berlin. I'm the library director. This is coming up on the anniversary of the pandemic. Is pretty much my 2-year anniversary, give or take 2 weeks. So 2 years. It's been an adventure, but this board has been incredibly supportive. It's been a challenge, as we all know, to get through the last 2 years. Never ending. But this board has been incredibly supportive, and it's been a joy to get through this weird, scary time with them, which is a weird thing to say, but it's been a joy, as much as it can be, to get through a pandemic together. So thank you and welcome. I'm excited to have all 3 of you aboard.
Now can I go?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Sorry.
Richard Truhan, this is my 3rd term, so 12 years plus. I grew up in Peabody. I left. I was in the Army for 20 years. I came back, and I've seen other libraries, so I know what a gem this is. And as all of you, I love the library. So, and I'm still working facility manager for healthcare facilities. Second.
I'm Ann Quinn. I can't say I've lived. I grew up in Peabody. I spent a long time living in Boston and working at places like the New England Conservatory and the Gardner Museum, which was pretty wonderful. I retired from the conservatory, and now I spend a lot of time volunteering here in Peabody. I'm on the drill team at the Senior Center. I read to 4th graders through the Peabody Education Foundation program, which is a lot of fun. And I volunteer at the Peabody Historical Society, doing some data entry, working on letters from World War II, letters that young men sent home to Peabody, and also that Peabodyites wrote to their young men in service. And that's been just really fascinating, especially when you read all these old Peabody names. Oh yeah, I remember that. And I remember that. So that's how I spend a lot of my time.
Hey, Peter Bukola. In my 1st term, out of my 3rd year on the board, lifelong resident of the city. Always want to be involved in the city for the better. Currently work as a full-time merchandiser, but I always interested in politics and helping the community improve. I'm looking forward to maybe getting down to the normal business of the board. As Kate alluded to, it hasn't been a normal experience. So I'm looking forward to Starry Night returning and things of that nature that we haven't really worked on. And like Jennifer mentioned, I spent a lot of time in this library when I was a kid. My grandparents lived right down the street on Little Lane. So every Saturday without fail, my grandfather would drag me up there in the children's room. I'm glad he did because, you know, I don't think I would have done well in college. Otherwise, you get always that. Welcome again to you guys and look forward to working with you.
My name is John Mcallister, and I've been on the board. I think I lost track after the fourth term. I'm not exactly sure where it is. All I know is that when I first started, Peter Region was the mayor, and I said, Pete, you know, maybe I should run for this. How long is the term? He said about 6 years. I said, well, should I do 1 or 2? He says, do it till you get it right. At any rate, I've been in rehab, working in rehab all my life, either head injury or spinal cord injury. And for the last 20 plus years, before I retired, I was working with a doctor, and we did long-term plans of medical care for catastrophically ill people. So I did a lot of research. So I was using the systems, and not just for an average book, some weird books that I had to find. And I learned how to use the system, but I was already a trustee by then, but I appreciate that part of it. Most importantly, I've been married now, my wife and I, for about 45 years. She says I just about broken in. And we have 2 great kids, and I enjoy being on the board. And any of you new people, thank you so much. If I can be of any assistance, please. And Kate, you've done yeoman work in the past 2 years. I don't know. It's how you were able to put together what you did, but you kept the ship afloat. Thank you for your hard work. That's all for me.
And on the screen from left to right, I see Fran. Fran, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to keep this very short, otherwise we'll be here till midnight. I'm Fran Gallucci. I've lived in Peabody my entire life. I've taught in this school system for over 30 years. I've been on the Conservation Commission. I'm on the ZBA. I volunteered for almost everything that goes on, and there you have it. And I love being on the library. This is my middle of my first election. To you, Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate O'Brien. I've lived in Peabody my whole life. I am a special ed teacher at the Higgins in Peabody, and I was elected the same year as Fran, which I think was 2018, I believe.
We all were, that's right, the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Sarah, just say a few words because you're so important. You're here at every meeting. Say hello.
My name is Sarah Bochie. I'm an aide at the Peabody Library. I've lived in Peabody for 3 years. I grew up in downtown Boston, and I'm excited to be here and help the library and therefore.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I hope that was helpful, numbers, and for us too. I think it was very helpful. I think at this point, we suspend. So do I call for a motion to suspend the normal rules of order so we can go into our voting and assignments and all that?
Make a motion to suspend the normal minutes to go into elections.
Second.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Donna. I heard you first. So, all right, so the meeting has been suspended. What's that? Yeah, so Sarah, I'm going to turn this over to you to run the rest of this part of the meeting.
Do I hear a motion to nominate the president of the board?
I make a motion to nominate Tom Pappas.
Second.
Do I run this part of the meeting or you have more?
She runs it.
Do I hear any additional nominations?
I think we need,
I move to close nominations for president.
Second. Now we have to vote.
She's got it.
Sorry.
found it in the last minute sheet that gives you the little rundown.
I call for a vote on the nomination. The nomination of Thomas Pappas as president is unanimously approved by the trustees. Did I do that right?
Not yet.
have to vote.
No, we have to vote.
All right,
About 10 seconds early.
that's what I thought.
Just all in, who's all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. I accept. Thank you very much. At this point, since we're closed, with normal rules of order.
No, we have to do the,
Right. So we're going to go through this list here. And,
she's still running the meeting.
oh, sir, I am so sorry. I gave you an opportunity to shine and I'm sorry about that.
You elect him twice to be president. This is what happens.
I'll be quiet.
This is a call for nominations of the treasurer of the Board of Trustees.
I nominate Don McAllister as treasurer of the Board of Trustees.
I respectfully decline.
Fran had it last time.
Oh,
No,
No?
uh,
Was it done?
We can't hear you. We can't hear you, Fran.
Smack the thing or whatever.
You're muted.
You're muted, Hank.
I'm not treasurer. I was the secretary.
Secretary.
That's right.
My mistake, sorry.
I don't know who was treasurer.
Don.
Well, I was, but it's been,
Oh. Come on, you
Nobody
don't
else.
want to do it again?
that was too hard. If anybody, nobody else is interested, I'll take it again.
I nominate Kate O'Brien.
I second.
Any additional nominations? Do I hear a motion to close the nominations for the treasurer of the Board of Trustees?
So moved.
Second.
Kate O'Brien, you,
We have to vote.
any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Kate O'Brien unanimously elected treasurer of the Board of Trustees of the Peabody Institute Library on a vote cast by the clerk. Do I hear a motion to close nominations? Did I do already?
No,
We need to have,
Yeah,
I
that
believe,
was-
Okay, that was.
Sorry, that's what it
the-
was. Yeah, sorry.
Do I hear a motion to close nominations for treasurer?
That's all done.
We just voted that.
We all
Yeah,
done.
that's done.
Sorry, I know, it's confusing. She's never done this before.
Never done it.
You're doing great, Sarah.
Better than we are.
Kate, have you accepted?
I hope so, we voted for it.
Got a thumbs
We
up,
voted for you
Sarah.
anyway.
Whether you like it or not.
And,
Recording Secretary Sarah Bochie calls for nominations of the Secretary of the Board of Trustees. Do I hear a motion to nominate Fran Galucci as Secretary of the Board?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is unanimously approved.
Thank you.
As there are no additional nominations, do I hear a motion to close the nominations for the Secretary of the Board of Trustees?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is unanimously approved. Recording Secretary Bochie calls for a vote of the nomination. The nomination of Fran Galucci as Secretary of the Peabody Institute Library Board of Trustees for the January 2022 to December 2022 term was unanimously approved by the trustees in attendance by a vote. Do I hear a motion to resume the normal rules of the board?
Second.
Do we do, better do the seats?
All in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is unanimously passed. Following the election of the new officers for the board, President Thomas Pappas assumes the chair.
Thank you. And we're back to normal rules again. Rules of order. Thank you, Sarah. That was wonderful. Thank you, Stephanie, for remembering our minutes from last year. And, okay, so at this point, what I think is appropriate, it's a little bit off the agenda, but since we just had all of the elections done here out of normal rules of order, I think we should go into the voting order. Can we do that?
Sure.
All right. So everybody's going to have to pick a number. We have our full board here. And do we have a box with the numbers?
We do.
Yeah.
Kate, you can pull for me.
He doesn't pull a number, right?
Do we know which seats are the number, which seat is which number?
This
The
got,
good thing
this
is
got stuck in there.
we tend to not sit in order, but if there's ever a vote where we have to vote, we follow the order of voting. But as far as just where you sit, we're not formal on, you have to sit in your seat.
So what's one?
Is it the president or is it the?
The president's 12.
12.
Okay, so I have 12 here. So that's okay, so I'm picking for Fran and other people.
And Stephanie. Delaire too, right?
Stephanie Delaire.
Okay, do you want to write these down then?
Yes, Sarah will write these down. I'll write them down too, so I have them.
You can start if you want with yours.
Okay, so Stephanie Delaire will be number 5. Kate O'Brien will be number 4. And Fran Galucci will be number 7.
Go around.
I got number 10.
3.
Ruth?
Ruth has number 1.
How many you caught up, Sarah? Okay, Stephanie has 8. Stephanie Najjar has 8.
Well, I'm 2. John Mcallister.
I have number 9.
I'm number 11.
Richard Truhan, number 6.
So Katrina, you had number 10? And Jennifer, you had number 3, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so just as a little background, I'm sorry to slow the meeting down here. What we've been doing since we've been having meetings online has been difficult trying to do a voting order because of the pandemic. So at this point, the way the meetings are going to run is the way we have run them, is that when we have a discussion, we do go around the table in the order that you have, and you can say a few words and vote, as opposed to saying any discussion, all in favor, any opposed. And this way, we're going to actually have a nice organized order. Since we have more people, we want to keep things moving forward just in case it ever gets out of hand. I guess that's why they do it. So thank you for that. And let's see, so we have subcommittees here.
We approve the minutes.
Subcommittee.
We haven't got to that yet.
We haven't got to that yet.
No, we're still working right after the suspended rules that we're
Oh,
ordering.
oh.
So I'd like to make some changes here. And I spoke to some of you about these changes, so there shouldn't be any controversy at all. But Kate O'Brien, I'd like to have chairing the subcommittee for the Audubon prints. And on the Historical Society, I'd like to have Ann, since you're very involved with the Historical Society, and you'll be able to report back to us. And the Friends of the Foundation, Stephanie, I don't know where we're at with the way things are happening between the Friends, but I know you've been on the
Foundation. Yeah,
you've
I'm on
been the foundation. So who was working with the Friends, and is there a Friends?
Morgan did, and I don't think it's worth having anybody.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I just want to ask everybody for some feedback on that. So Stephanie on the foundation, building and grounds, Rick, thank you again. Let's see, personnel, Don, I believe you've been on personnel. And would you like to continue to doing that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you for that. And then policies and procedures. Kate, you're on policy and procedures, right?
Yes,
It
I
was.
am.
Okay. Would you like to give that to anybody else? Or would you like to?
Whatever. I'm happy to,
Anybody? Oh, I'm sorry, Kate, please speak.
no, it's okay. I'm happy to keep it and I'm happy to give someone else a chance.
Does anybody interested in policies and procedures? It requires some writing and updating of things in the library here. I guess, Kate, can you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. The next policy that we're going to be examining and maybe editing if necessary is our collection development policy. Basically, we have a lot of policies that's been around since the dark ages that we've been trying to update as we go and take off floppy disks. And there's a very specific policy that doesn't allow yo-yos in the library. I would love to know the backstory. But there's a lot of stuff that's been going through our policy manual that's out of date. The yo-yos need to be allowed again, stuff like that. Also that the elevator may only be used for transport purposes. Again, I'd like to know the backstory. A lot of updates and the current technology needs to be added. And also when I write policy, working with that person to help me write the new policy and to ask questions and to give suggestions and basically do policy writing from scratch. Sometimes it's just looking at what other libraries have done and kind of copying and pasting it and making it fit for our needs. But like I said, the next one we're going to be doing is our collection development policy. There has been, I don't know if people know this, there's just been this whole rash of challenges to books that people consider offensive based on personal political views that kind of go against library beliefs in terms of freedom of information and small d democratic collection. So we're going to be updating our collection development policy to make sure it's airtight and it does allow us to have any book on the shelf that is deemed appropriate by this policy. And if somebody does challenge it, this is an airtight policy that protects us. So if anybody is ready to dive into that, come join me in policy procedure.
Thank you, Katrina.
It's fun. I honestly like policies. So.
Who's on public relations? I'm sorry.
I don't think we had that one,
Okay.
unless it's new.
I pulled it up off the
Well,
list
it's
here.
been absent for years.
We have that. Maybe the foundation sometimes talks about that.
Okay.
But it's not a bad thing to discuss because it does call to that because whenever we're doing an event or even just something great at the library that should get attention, like there's really never a set plan that kind of defaults to you as the director. I think Kate, at the time of trying to get information out, whether it's the paper or on Facebook or whatever, that seems to always come in-house. So I think, for this is my opinion, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like you need to have a specific person assigned to that going forward? Is that something you feel burdened by that?
So my staff does their own marketing, publicity, and graphics and press releases and everything. And I think having just all of the trustees being willing to amplify it, share on social media, or send out emails, just kind of on their own as they're comfortable, amplify it would be more helpful than having to that person. Because I think my staff does a really good job of making marketing that's really snazzy and cohesive looking. We just need help with that last little step.
Right.
Okay.
Same with foundation things. I think we do a good job of marketing things. We just need every foundation trustee to give it that last little bit. So I don't think it's necessary have a PR person. I don't know if they'd have much to do.
So I think I have all the subcommittees here, right? And then some. Thank you for your patience, everybody. I didn't mean to overstep my bounds on that, Kate, but thank you. You do a great job with the public relations in the media. So can we assign folks to these committees? Who would like to be on the Audubon Committee? The subcommittees of Audubon, right?
Oh,
Yeah, so you were saying Kate O'Brien. Those are like, they would report, those are like the reports on the committees.
Okay. I was reading the bylaws, so please excuse me if I'm a little too technical on it.
That's okay.
Something about assignments. So how about we leave the chairs? Can we do that? And I think that's normally what we have done traditionally.
Just have the chair, yeah, each person chairs a committee.
Right, and you can work with the trustees here as you wish. That sounds good. So we have, the committees are done. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for stepping up again. I think we can move on to the next agenda item here. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I did have a couple of small edits to add, suggested by Anne, by trustee Corbett, I'm sorry. Two little ones, the little section about the newspaper articles. I just added a sentence saying that there was an article in the Salem News. And then I added focusing on the library's fine free policy and new initiatives, just to give that some more background. And then on page 3, and then what the discussion of the George Peabody medals, trustee could just clean up the language a little bit. So it's trustee Najjar discussed improving the look of the George Peabody medals for that first set. So no change to content, just change the wording a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. In one moment. So I'm looking at, sorry if I'm not seeing this correctly, but the full 2022 proposed meeting calendar doesn't seem to be here.
we traditionally don't meet during the summer. Then I think we start after that.
Right.
July and August.
We're going to put the calendar together, our meeting, right? We want to put the meetings.
Right. I don't see anything after June is my point. And
Right, we
there's
only-
also September, October, November, December.
I was just doing it for the fiscal year, the
Oh.
dates for the rest of the fiscal year.
It makes sense. Thank you. Okay. Motion.
I motion to accept the minutes. I take a motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
And this is where we would go around the table and do the vote in order. So let's start exercising that. This is a little bit awkward after a year of not doing it. So Ruth,
Whoops, can I just stand?
I accept.
and you're free to say anything you'd like to at this point. And
You have to go in order.
yeah, number 2, Dawn.
I accept.
Number 3, Jen.
Except
Number 4, Kate. O'Brien. Number 5, Stephanie Delar, present. Number 6,
Yay.
thank you, Rick. And number 7, Fran.
I accept.
Number 8,
Accept.
number 9,
Except,
number 10,
I accept.
and 11 is.
I accept.
Yeah, thank you.
Excuse me.
Go
We
ahead.
have done this before, individual voting on the minutes. For some reason to do it as opposed to by acclamation, which is usually.
Well, you bring a good point up, and it is kind of an awkward thing, voting in order, and I kind of have grown accustomed to just asking for discussion, and we seem to be a very organized board. I will entertain any ideas, and like this here, does this board feel that voting the way we have in the past year is acceptable? Is it something that you prefer? Is this something that you'd like to see change back to the way we used to do it? Or how would you like to handle it? What's your proposal?
I just, in the past, and probably before your time when I've been on, we focused on the order of voting when it came to some, for lack of a better word, serious, or just some more, a heavier agenda item that took a lot of thought and a lot of discussion. And therefore we would fall back to the order of voting so that we would take individual votes on something that's maybe difficult or challenging to the board. When it comes to simple approvals and quick votes, the aye and the nays, all approve and any opposed seem to work well. So that's just kind of how it's been since I've been on the board. I don't know about you two, you guys have been here longer.
Stephanie, thank you for that feedback. Don, I hear you have approval on this side here.
I don't know about that, but I agree with what Stephanie is saying. It's not that the board doesn't get involved. Our directors have always been very good in including us and going on. So it's not a contentious board. There is seldom something where people are throwing their shoes or anything. So usually all in favor, all opposed, it's a vote suffices.
Yeah.
There are times when, and we always discuss it first, knowing by the nature of the discussion, maybe there's going to be an issue, and then give that person or persons a chance. Then you call the roll, number one, number two, and they get a chance, and then they go from there. It's worked for us for 20 plus years, so and the building's still standing.
I have no intentions of changing things that work, so,
Yeah.
And thank you for clarifying that. After a year of running it without any voting order, it seemed like we should come back to what we were doing here.
I'm probably giving you a second chance.
Okay, I appreciate it.
You're doing that because you did a good job.
Thank you. It's everybody else is doing the good work here. So, all right. So we'll do that. I'll keep that in mind. If we have anything that really needs further and in-depth discussion, we'll go ahead into the voting order. Usually this trustee board is so good that we don't really have to. We didn't have to do that, but we will bring it in that way. Thank you very much. And so we're all in favor of receiving the minutes. Thank you. Receipt of communications. Do we have any communications? No communications. And our library director, Merlin, is on for the next agenda item.
This is a short report. This is the month of December where stuff typically stops. But COVID still, so. Director's report to the Board of Library Trustees, January 2022. Staffing. A large proportion of full and part-time staff are out for long periods of time. Understandably, this is affecting all staff members' schedules and duties as coverage of all public service desks is paramount. For the record, each branch requires a minimum of 2 staff members at a time to be open to the public, 4 people over the course of the 12-hour Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the main library requires a minimum of 6 people at a time to be open to the public, 12 people over the course of a 12-hour Monday through Thursday. We have not yet reached this point, but we should all be aware that a reduction of hours may at some point be necessary over the course of the current COVID surge. All staff are being incredibly flexible as staffing needs change. Programming and initiatives, more pandemic. Due to the state of the pandemic and the importance of keeping patrons and staff safe, I have canceled or moved online to Zoom all in-person programming for all ages through the end of January, and will reassess at the end of the month regarding February in-person programming. The LSTA grant application process for Our Garden begins this month and continues through June. Senior Adult Services Librarian Gabriella Toth and Senior Local History Librarian, I didn't put her name in, Catherine Vidal, sorry, have begun their year-long community read program, Roots to Kinship, centering on New England author Rachel Serrati's memoir and how family history impacts our personal stories. More information can be found at www.peabodylibrary.org/roots-to-kinship. On Friday, February 18th, this is a date change, we will host Peabody Veterans Memorial High School's Winter Art Show and Coffee House, showcasing the work of fall semester Peabody High art students and music students. The event will be catered by Peabody High Culinary Department students. This after-hours event will feature acoustic music performances in the Sutton Room and works of multimedia art displayed in the second floor tech lab and first floor main reading room. In the annual spring concert series, sponsored by the Library Foundation and the McCarthy Family Foundation, will begin on Monday, February 14th with Harkus Anumanid. Budget. I don't have a copy of the current budget for your review due to said staffing issues. It will be ready on Wednesday, and I'll email it to all of you for your review then. Sorry about that. Our full MBLC state aid award for FY22 will be approximately $90,000 this year, increased around 10% from last year. Before the deposit of the first half of our award in early December, the balance of this account stood at approximately $114,000, down from a starting FY balance of $167,000 in July. And largely this was spent on landscaping, main library furniture, and technology. And then I propose the following allocations for this year's funds, so we'll need a vote of approval on that. Keeping in mind the funds that still remain in many of these categories and my focus on building and grounds projects such as purchasing new furniture, upgrading outside lighting, and seasonal landscaping for all 3 library buildings. You can see the approximate amount of what's remaining for all those different categories. You can see building and grounds is down to nothing in that. It's all hypothetical, but that's down to 0 what we've allocated in the past, spending it, which is great. And then the next column is the proposed FY22 allocations, and then the total as of right now going forward after those allocations. We get the first payment, and we just got it in early December, and then we'll get the second half payment. That first payment was $43,000, and then we'll get the second payment in February-ish. It's early spring, and it's usually a little bit more than the first one. So it'll probably be 47,000. So the estimate's 90,000 for the year. And then the general percent of the total after these allocations are approved. And then Audubon's, I've scheduled the pickup of the next 15 prints. The list is included for conservation on Friday, January 28th. Building and grounds, I am working with the city facilities department and Bay State Electric to upgrade outside lighting at all 3 locations, including replacing pole lighting at the West Branch, new courtyard light post globes and flag spotlights at the main, and new spotlights at the branches. Senior local history librarian Catherine Badal hopes to have updates regarding quotes for Sutton Room window coverings at the February meeting. And then we discussed last time MBLC trustee trainings. The MBLC trustee orientations and deep dive schedule for Zoom programs will be posted in February, and I will keep you updated. It is suggested that everyone attend these general sessions at their own convenience, and we can then contact MBLC consultants to arrange trainings and sessions based on goals that are specific to the Peabody Institute Library trustees.
Any questions?
February 18th event.
Yes.
What time is that?
I think it's going to be 6 to 8 p.m. in the evening. It's an after-hours event. It'll be full main floor downstairs, whole area. We think we're going to keep the food downstairs so that people are not tempted to take food and drink if they are allowed to even take off their masks, which that's a whole nother can of worms there. If somehow they are allowed to have food and drink here, we won't be tempted to take it into the sunroom. But worst comes to worst, we were supposed to have that event this coming Friday, but obviously this is a bad time for that. We bumped it by a month. Hopefully at that time we'll at least be able to handle the people in the library. And if the food has to be grab and go treats to take home with them, so be it. But we can't push it any longer. And these kids have always had this art show at the high school, and everybody thought this would be a really exciting, pretty snazzy, mature way for them to show off their work. And the goal is to make this every semester. We'll do it every January and then every May going forward, kind of definitely. And there's going to be about 300 kids whose art is going to be on display, and about 20 to 40 kids performing in the sunroom. So a lot of people that don't normally maybe come downtown don't really come to the library, and they get to see their work in this beautiful building.
So who's doing the acoustic performances?
It's music kids that do their like their coffee shop.
It's a coffee house, right?
Yeah. And the music teacher is really dedicated to it being acoustic. So he is actually getting movers to move an upright piano into the sunroom for the day, so they can play, because he really doesn't want to do electric. He's really dedicated to the
Let's hope the elevator stays functioning.
It actually appears that it won't fit in the elevator, so they're going to bring it up the center stairs. And
I was gonna say, I don't think it.
no, it won't. And these are his piano movers, and he seems to think they'll be able to do it. So that is on him.
What make is the piano?
I have no idea.
No.
I have no idea.
Baby grand,
Yeah, right.
baby grand.
Yeah.
Up those stairs.
And upright.
So I've attended many of the coffee acoustics
Yep.
in the past, and they're packed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have to limit the number of people in that sunroom.
We're going to, yeah. they're gonna be performing over the 2 hours, so we're gonna have to limit it.
I mean, it might be different this year because it's the first time it's here, and
Right.
the high school is just a different,
Yeah.
you can walk in the front door and walk out when
Right.
they, want to watch their child perform or whatever, but.
We're, right now, we kind of, based on comfort levels, reduce all of our, we were having in-person programs through December, decreased everything by half, so we are allowing about 25 people in the Sutton room at a time, spaced out. So we'll probably keep it too close to that, and we'll just, probably not a lot of chairs and people kind of coming in and coming out. It's unfortunate because it can't really be the event that
I know.
we want it to be, but we have to give it a shot and see how it works. But
Sure.
we also decided to split it between the 2 floors so it's not as crowded. Because if any of you came to the Comic-Con event we had through the first year of the pandemic or before the pandemic, this area up here had like 100 people in it at once. It was great, but it was uncomfortably. I feel like that's one of those things that's never going to happen again, unfortunately, because there were just so many people in here.
Yeah.
So we're trying to space it out as much as possible.
So the Anya Minogue performance on the 14th, those obviously are chairs that you took, because I've seen her before. And you'll have to adjust the amount of people in there
Yep.
too.
So that I think we're going to cap it at 25, unfortunately, but then we also do it via Zoom as well. And people have liked the hybrid option thus far. And that's one of those things that was a pandemic realization
Right.
that we should always be doing things
Remotely.
online as well
Sure.
as we can. So
Sure.
we'll continue that option.
Will the art show and coffee house also be on Zoom?
I don't know. I think it would be hard to coordinate in the moment. My hope is that Peabody TV, if you're listening, we could figure out a way where they can come and film it and then put together a segment about it to air later.
It's noisy.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to coordinate, but hopefully somebody can get footage of it and then put together something after the fact.
Maybe some kind of live stream of musical.
The music at
performance,
least, yeah, maybe.
You know, because it's all in the same room.
Yeah.
so we would not like-
The one consideration for that is staffing, because
Right,
after
yeah,
hours
of course.
Friday event, it's pretty much limited to a custodian and then assistant director Hayden and myself. We don't have the budget to offer the people the extra time, so we'd have to get the extra people to do it.
Okay.
But a live thing of the music might be doable. People that don't feel comfortable yet.
Is this open to the public?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Excuse me, I'm going to throw a little idea out there. We can talk more about it at the foundation meeting. But what if there's an opportunity with all these people coming and going to incorporate something on the foundation level with that? Like a table or something like that.
Yeah,
You know
possibly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Just that popped in my head.
Any other questions or comments for our director?
Yeah, I have a question, Director Stephanie. I know we talked last time about the George Peabody medal. Have we been able to find an older copy?
We were supposed to meet, yeah, actually Rick Walsh is one of our teachers at the Higgins, and he's a Peabody, George Peabody medal recipient. And he brought his.
I golf with them, I know.
But I think you told me to talk to him, and I did, and he brought it in for me. I took a picture of it. Martha gave me the name of the place that used to make them for us years ago. And then the holidays came, and honestly, that's as far as I got, because I've spoken to the high school, and we're just trying to find a place to remake and go back to the style we had before. And the only thing I wanted to ask you, Kate, tonight was that you were going to dig one out that you thought you might have.
It wasn't what I thought it was.
It wasn't.
The one I had, turns out it was like from 1995, the bicentennial of his birth or
Oh,
something.
okay,
It was not
okay.
What I thought.
The
it was.
one, Rick Walsh has is nice. It's smaller than I thought it was. I thought it would be bigger, so it was a little bit smaller than I thought it would be. But it's what we like. It's just exactly what we want. It's just a little small. So I have, yeah, just make it bigger. So I have to put, now that the New Year's here and, the holidays are behind me, I plan on calling the place in Rhode Island to see if they're still alive and open. If they are, great. I'm just gonna throw it out there to them. And if they're not, I'm gonna go to Harrington or Crown Trophy.
Oh,
And-
thank you. That's quite a bit. You did quite a bit. Thank you.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of behind the scenes conversations and things like that, but now it's somebody on the phone. Hope the best that would be great if the same people were still there that could just, they've got, because I think you have to pay for some sort of a mold. Usually they charge you for that mold or whatever it is,
Sure.
the upfront.
Then they'll
And-
keep it for years.
But then we'll have it always, right? So anyway,
I just had one point of clarification on that medal. Rick, is that his medal?
Yes, he,
Okay. The reason I asked is that there was a time, and it wasn't done, I don't think, for any, we would certainly call politically incorrect reason. But at one time, the women's medal were smaller. It was more seen as more delicate. I didn't do it. Years and years ago, it was more of a jewelry concept. And so I wondered if it was that small, if that could have been a woman's, but it was given to a guy.
Oh, I don't know.
So that's the only reason I was
It's,
thinking there. Okay.
it's nice. It's like, it's obvious what it is, which is nice, but I just thought it would be just a little bigger. And, you know, in your head, you kind of picture this.
Like the
We've all seen
Olympic
those
gold
medals
medals.
and they're kind of chunkier, a little chunkier.
Kind of like
little-
a 50-cent
Just a
piece.
little bit, exactly.
Yeah.
A little bit bigger, but
In times helping to pass them out, they were bigger than a quarter and approaching a 50 cent. And it was a medal.
right.
It was a good thing on a ribbon.
And the other thing we have to get clarification on is, I know we split the cost with the high school and here, but we have that donor now that wants to pick up the cost of the medals. So I'm not sure where that stands is financially, like for us and for the high school, and if that's how long they're gonna do that for. I don't have clarification on that. Did you get the actual, it was a motion made to the city council, I think, right?
I know nothing about this.
Yeah. Back, was it last year? It was last spring during the pandemic, the family granted this, you know, pick up the cost. They just were impressed by what we did and the history behind it, and that they wanted to donate and take over the cost. So
When was this?
I believe it was last spring, if my memory serves me
No, I
right.
think you're right. And
A year ago spring, because we went through the whole Peabody medal thing, and, you know, with the pandemic, I think must have caught someone's attention, and it was the Rappaport family. So I will have to dig on that. I'll have to ask the high school again about that, or the city council, how that funding is working.
they have just, through the chair, they have just made an offer to fund this. We don't know if there's a period of years. or-
Exactly,
whatever,
yeah, because
okay.
it wasn't made to us specifically as
Mhm.
to the board, it was made more to the city, on the city side, so I have to get that clarified.
That's a very nice gesture. I like.
Oh,
this.
absolutely, it was wonderful.
Do you know if there was someone in their family that received it, or they
No,
just
I just
PBDites?
don't- I don't remember, yeah, it's just a big family. Everyone was very impressed, and I don't know, it was aired on, you know, it was a live kind of a thing, and it was brought up.
So thank you for the medal conversation, bringing it up, Rick. And thank you, Kate, for the director's report.
Make a motion to accept the director's report.
So
Second.
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
I like that.
That's much faster and more efficient. Okay. Reports of committees. So let's go through the committee reports. Executive committee. I don't have anything to report this month. And the next committee we have here is Autobahns. Kate, anything on Autobahns?
Not that I know of.
Yeah,
In the
historic.
past 40 minutes.
Thank you, Kate.
Can I ask a question about Audubon's on this list that you provided? I was surprised to see so many that have extensive or major damage. I thought that those were all done and
No,
taken care of
they've always been done
in order.
in numerical order,
Oh.
yeah. I think there was some misconception at some point that they were done in like the expensive ones first, but they've always just been done in numerical order.
Okay.
Excuse me, so just by their numbers, because I remember it differently. That the ones that were extremely damaged and needed the most work were going to be done because they were continuing to.
Yeah, I mean, there may have been ones at the beginning that were like extensively
Yes.
damaged, but we still are dealing once in every batch. There are a couple that are considered extensive damage. It may be that there are ones that were like extra super duperly extensively damaged that I'm just not aware of. But every batch I've been a part of sending out, there have been a couple extensive damaged ones in there.
Because I know
Who
that
distributes
TKM,
the-
The studio does. The studio
They
did
do.
years ago when they started this with us.
Oh, wow.
TKM Studios, I think, recommended at that point that the ones that were badly damaged.
Yeah, I can look into that, how it started, yeah.
Can I make some comments here? Because I was just reading about this. So the first 50, and I mean, I just read it out there an hour ago. The first 50 that were really extensively damaged by court order, we took those first.
Okay.
Then the next 5 years, they were doing 50 more.
Mhm.
And then after that, they were continuing for the, I think the number is 434.
35, 34, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they're working on. And we were supposed to be done within 10 years, so that was 1989. So we're doing a good faith effort, keeping it going.
Mhm.
So this list here, these first ones, 312 to 320, the ones that are picking up the end of the month?
Yeah, well, all of them. 312 through 327.
Oh, all of them, okay, oh, sorry, I misunderstood that, okay.
And if you notice, 324 is missing. That's the Bonaparte gull. That was one of the 3 stolen that we never got back. That's why it's missing.
Send you, the 3 of you, the testimony of how they were stolen both times. It's a riot.
Both times at what?
Both times they were stolen, because I found the original testimony of that. I haven't told everybody this.
You told some of us.
You told us, yeah. Well, you
The
told me.
Gentleman that he showed up and basically said, hey, I'm just in the 70s and doing some research on Audubon. I'd like to take a look at your prints. And at that point, they were just stored in the sunroom. And he apparently, this is from the testimony of the director, apparently, and the assistant director. Apparently, the staff got to know him so well that they gave him his own key to the sunroom, which is like, go in and then leave. And so after a couple months, he was like, okay, I'm done, thanks. And then a couple months after that, the director got a call from the FBI boss saying, hey, I think we have your prints. Can you check? And it turns out that at that point, they were still bound. He was ripping them out of the bindings. And they're not like this.
They're big.
He was somehow taking them out with him. And
You're about 2 by 3.
yeah, and
Yeah.
the library staff was not checking up on it. They gave him this key, but nobody knew who he was. Nobody was even going in afterwards. So I was like, I would have, he didn't lose his job, but if that was a woman, she would have lost her job in a second. But he,
Smaller metal. I mean.
nobody, right, or smaller metal, yeah. But nobody was checking the folios afterwards. Nobody was checking up on him. It turned out he had stolen from a bunch of different libraries, like the BPL, and I think like Falmouth or New Bedford or something.
Wow.
So then they were all brought back, and then they were in cases, and then somebody broke in the middle of the night and then stole them. But if you look at our prints, they're all stamped with like property of the Peabody Library, which is a travesty, but that's why they were stamped, because they got stolen twice. Once avoidable, the second one, somebody grabbed all of them and 3 were not recovered, which is why we're 3 short of set. Same director both times. And he ends his statement saying, and this is why I think the library is not capable of housing these beautiful pieces of art, because they got stolen on his watch. It's a riot. I'll send everybody the documents. It's fun. But I will not be giving a key to the sunroom or our Audubons to anybody.
Good to know.
I promise. If I lose my job, it will be something else. Not that.
Doing a great job, Kate. I'll say that.
Not gotten Audubon stolen yet. Not gonna put.
So, okay, anything else on Audubon's? Okay, Historical Society, Ann, do you have anything you could share with us?
Things were kind of quiet because of over the holidays, but the new exhibition is about Peabody's participation in the various wars, from the Revolutionary War up through Korea. And there are some things related to the War on Terror, but that's still too new. So the exhibit is open. There are costume uniforms from the different eras, as well as canteens and backpacks and rifles and assorted things. There was a gentleman in there the other day when I was there, and he was just interested in military history. So he came in and he just hung around and took pictures. And I sort of thought about keeping an eye on him, not wondering who he was or anything.
You would have been here, Ann.
Is this at the George Peabody House?
It's at, no, it's at the 2 houses on Washington Street,
Oh, nice.
the Foster House and the Salada House.
Yes, okay, nice.
Yep. So it'll be up for quite a long time.
Would you be willing on forwarding Trustees every month, newsletter that comes out from the Historical
Oh,
Society.
yeah,
Or a
right.
copy of either way.
Or a
Right.
copy of it would be nice for the trustees here. That'd be
Unless
great.
it's on there, I don't know, do they post that on their website or the newsletters?
I'll check.
Yeah.
I'll check, see how they handle it. I know that periodically, Nora Bigelow, the assistant curator, publishes a little squib of something that she's discovered lately, the collection, and it's usually old Peabody stuff, and she writes something up about it. And I usually forward that on to my brother and cousins who live this
Yeah,
here,
that's
and they
fun, yeah.
enjoy seeing the old Peabody stuff, but I'll kind of get a handle.
Wasn't there just recently something about some old postcards from Peabody?
Yes.
That was something really interesting.
Yeah, it is fun.
A lot of fun stuff there. Anything else on the Historical Society? Okay, foundations.
Well, since our last meeting, there's really nothing to update you until we have our meeting this Wednesday. Our quarterly meeting will be this Wednesday. So I believe, right? We don't have that.
So what time on Wednesday?
6 p.m. What was that?
Yeah, earlier.
Yes, it's 6.
And it's over here.
It's here, yes. We met in the Sutton Room last time, and we're a smaller group, so I don't know where we'll be meeting this time. Other things have surged.
I will bring my
here or there.
handy dandy air purifier that I now carry around
Okay.
like a totally normal person.
I was going to ask what that was. I thought it might be a heater, but
No, it's a wonderful one of the air purifier.
Next Wednesday, the 19th, right?
My office.
This Wednesday.
Very
12.
subtle.
Yeah.
So, 4 times a day.
Just let people know that's.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. Building and grounds, Rich,
Nothing further than the director's report.
thank you. Personnel, Don,
Nothing further than the director's report.
thank you. And let's see, policy and procedures, it's too soon, Katrina, but thank you. All right, do I have a motion to accept committee reports?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Kate, can I just ask you a question about all these absences? The staff, are they all coming down with COVID?
A mix. There's also still people out on vacation, people having other things come up, personal things,
Oh,
and COVID.
It's
Oh,
all the exposure.
combination
it's
of
possible
everything.
exposure.
Yeah, people waiting it out, and people that haven't diagnosed, everything.
That's how school is too.
It's everywhere.
Yeah,
All right,
it's a wild ride.
so unfinished business. Next agenda item. I don't know if this is unfinished business, but the 18th of February is George Peabody's birthday.
It is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know, what do we have, because that made me think about
Oh.
our event, what, the foundation, we talked about a date in February, but I don't recall.
what's the date? Is it
You know,
the
Brian,
18th?
were you there?
It is
That's the date of this,
thing.
Well, I
that's-
mean,
I know, but I
something.
can't remember, I feel like there was
Oh.
something, but I was gonna wait till Wednesday to,
I mean, it would be kind of fun to,
I don't have anything on the calendar
these
yet.
are all kids, celebrating the arts and George Peabody and everything could be kind of easily pushed together. I would
Yeah,
think.
so we'll have to talk about that Wednesday, because I know we were talking, remember, about,
Yeah,
kind of having his birthday be something a little different.
right.
And,
We were talking about it being like a, kind of like celebrating all the nonprofits and people that work for the public in Peabody, but maybe since I can't really change the date of this, sorry,
oh, no, no,
my fault.
no,
This year it becomes celebrating like the arts in Peabody,
sure.
which you would like. you
and
would like that.
education. because
Arts
that
and
was-
education, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a nice autumn, like easy. it's kind of
That's the
still
Friday
school
that
year,
begins
so.
February school vacation.
Yeah.
That Friday, right? Is that right? Okay.
And if it was a foundation thing too, it'd be nice to have extra help that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to help myself.
We'll talk about it.
I guess the only concern is you talked about how many people may already be expected.
Yeah.
Do we really want to invite more in the same night?
I think our hope was that because we could extend it to 3 hours easily make it a little bit longer of an event. And the hope was that the idea is that downstairs on the first floor, those big bookshelves are movable. we would roll those all into the team rooms. We would have all of up here and the select room and the entire first floor for this. We would hopefully spread people out as much as possible. Other than that, it's
Unless we had individual servings of cake in celebration,
Right.
George, like make it about, like, just make it, it's just always just awareness, really.
yeah,
It's just something to say, it's acknowledging our founding father. You've got all these people coming through the doors, and just be a good time to acknowledge it,
Yeah.
nothing else,
Right,
It's not like we
even-
have to invite more people, because it would just be us going. you know
Right.
what I mean, in the foundation.
And if-
Half the trustees anyway, so.
I kind of like that. Yeah, and there probably wouldn't be that many more people. If we invite the local lawmakers anyway, this is a great thing for them to be involved in anyway.
They should,
Great.
yeah.
They
have
should
the opportunity to
be here
come.
anyway,
Like,
so
because the school committee is gonna know about it,
Yep.
obviously, so they're gonna come anyway.
we'll just make everybody work hula hoops
Right.
around them to keep. It's so awkward to try to plan anything right now. The hope is that by February 18th, at least it'll be not as like people won't have the crazy eyes anymore.
Yeah.
hopefully, they'll do. Myself included. And if we have to bump it, we have to bump it again. If things aren't getting better, we can plan knowing that
Yeah.
things might go awry, but that's kind of a fun idea.
Yeah.
Add a
Yeah.
couple more people and make it a really visible celebration of the arts and education in PC. It'd be a happy accident.
I would totally agree with that because we don't want to be competing for, well,
Right.
we're having an event for George here.
Right.
We're having an event here.
This isn't his name, like, in a way, it's celebrating him in the end anyway,
Absolutely.
which is great,
And we can perhaps show the wreath that we usually get
Yeah.
for his
Oh, yeah.
birthday.
You can get a new
And
wreath for the
afterward,
birthday,
take
yeah.
it.
We could put it right in the lobby, right when they walk in.
Absolutely, right in
Right,
there.
right.
I like that.
And then afterward, we can put it on his grave.
So let me ask you, when you do go to the cemetery, and I know that's one of the traditions, you
Mhm.
did it last year, Stephanie, right?
We didn't end up doing it last
Okay,
year.
No,
The year
I did
before.
it one year, we brought it to
Yeah.
the cemetery.
Did it
It was
once,
really nice,
twice,
actually, because I
twice.
had never really been to the actual.
The last time we were there in Mass, the snow had been so bad. And thank goodness somebody brought two of their 12-year-old kids who ran the wreath up through the snow because it's up on a bank. But it's been going for years and years, and I think we should continue that part. But the big part can be here. And those brave ones with snow tires who want to go down to the cemetery afterward, they could do that.
Okay, we'll know more next meeting since it'll be
Mhm.
before the 18th. Okay, that's good. All right, talked about the medals. Talked about George Peabody's birthdays. Also, this is an unfinished business. Is there any other unfinished business anybody would like to bring up? Okay, moving on to new business. This isn't really new business. It's kind of existing business, but I had asked for the bylaws because I thought I had a copy of them. And when I went to look for them, I couldn't find them. So Kate was able to, our director was able to locate them and send them out. And she made copies for everybody. So we have a copy of our bylaws, how we run. And it's not too complicated, 3 pages. So thank you, Kate, for doing that. Other new business. We've actually discussed this a little bit here. Do we need to discuss this a little bit more? And you brought up some questions on it. So is there nothing on this to discuss any further? Okay. And resolution.
Vote on the budget.
Oh, please go ahead. That's right.
I make a motion to accept the director's proposed budget.
Can I quickly just explain to the 3 new trustees what this is? So you'll hear a lot about this in the next coming months, but we get a budget from the city. The Mass Board of Library Commissioners has a certification program where if your budget increases every year, essentially the average of the last 3 years plus 2.5%, and you hit a bunch of other benchmarks like having a library director with a master's degree in library sciences, being open a certain number of hours based on population, spending 12% of your budget on materials and books and items and stuff like that, then you become certified, which means you get to participate in the interlibrary loan system. And also you get this state aid award. It's basically a giant grant every year based on population, based on circulation, based on how many things are lent to people that don't live in your network and don't live in the state as a whole mishmash of formula. But we get one of the highest awards based on population in the state. I think 347 or something like that communities out of like 350 participate in the program. It's a voluntary thing, but pretty much everybody does. A couple years ago, when our budget was rough because of COVID, we were in a situation where our budget did not increase. In fact, it decreased a lot. And so there's a whole waiver process where the city, because the city is the one applying for this process, the city has to say, this is why we're not able to get the money needed, blah, blah, blah. And then the board can decide to give them a waiver or not. Luckily, we were fine. But this award that we get every year is basically not part of our city budget. So we don't use it to, some libraries that are littler, that are smaller, use it as a guaranteed more funding for staff every year, or they use all their entire collection development budget is their state aid award. Their part-timers are paid by state aid. We are in a fortunate situation that we don't have to do that because we do get the healthy funding from the city. But it means that we have this extra money to supplement what the city gives us and also more. And it's a ton of money. And it wasn't spent over the past couple of years because of the previous director who wanted to save more of it and then COVID. So now we're kind of in this odd situation of we have the money there and it's not to be saved for rainy day. It's meant to be spent by the state every year. It's not an interest-bearing account, it's not a savings account, it's a grant account that's supposed to be spent down. And it makes me very uncomfortable because there's a lot of money in it. So I'm spending the money on refreshing all of our physical spaces right now, outside and inside primarily. Then you can see the allocations are just to get us to where the normal percentages, that's kind of average. The numbers are pretty much allocated the same every year, give or take a couple percentage points. I did bump up the money in building and grounds because we just need that money to place, which is nice. But the rest of it, the numbers are pretty in line where they have been. But this is basically like fun money that we get as a bonus for the city funding us correctly. We get the exciting fun stuff.
So I'll go back to, is it okay? I'll go back to my motion of accepting the director's proposed budget from the MBLC state aid funding.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Stephanie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Guys have it. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, resolution. Any other new business before we go to resolution? Resolution.
What is a resolution?
You know, I just looked at the bylaws and I was going to ask you.
You just guys have New Year's.
Yeah.
Is any, I'm gonna, would anybody like to take be able to give us a better definition of what resolution is? I ask about this in meetings.
I have a wrap up, right?
Yeah, so I can resolve any.
Resolve any unanswered issues, questions.
It's part of our bylaws, and I think that the way the trustees here, this board works, is that we bring things up that we're going to be discussing for the evening. Sometimes out of order, but it's a flowing way. I think it's a cooperative way. So I think some of these things might have come up under resolution, but we take care of it for the meeting. So that's for resolution number 9.
This agenda format is pretty boilerplate.
Yeah.
It is. It is. Any matter suggested by a trustee to the library director prior to the issuance of the agenda and a notice and agenda? Is there anything, Kate, that anybody has issued you? No? Okay. Any matter suggested by any person in writing to the library director prior to the issuance of the notice and agenda of the meeting containing a title and description of the agenda? It would be different than getting something without a title, right? So, and maybe this can be something we can look at for our policies and procedures, because I do have some confusion on what these mean. If anybody knows the history of what their intent was, it would be kind of nice to.
Make it more efficient, more workable.
Yeah. Yeah. So just let's play with that and come up with some ideas if it needs anything, or maybe some history that some people may know of why we have an agenda the way we do and what the intent was. That brings us to the end of the agenda. Everybody, I like to run a meeting that's about an hour or under. Kate said that this should be a pretty easy meeting tonight, but we had a lot to do. And I'm over the hour, and I won't go past 15 minutes. So welcome, everybody. It's good to have a full board. It's great to have new members. Also, and thank you for the nomination to have me as president for another year. I appreciate it. And at this point, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Second. First Stephanie, second Don. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, the ayes have
Put your
it.
gloves and hats on.
Motion passes. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
Tom, I just have.